There was a comment on my unboxing video last year that this watch is a novelty and it would probably only last 2 years in my collection and then be gone. It's been 1 year now, and I admit this watch is one of my least worn watches, but I just felt like putting it back on the wrist recently, and I've been wearing it again over the past week. It's still in my collection, and since this has been almost exactly 1 year since I purchased this, I'll feature this in my video today. Later, I'll explain why this watch has not gotten more wrist time, but it comes down to the fact that its very best feature can sometimes be its own worst enemy. But first, I'll do an overview of this watch and get into the details of what makes this watch so great. The Aqua Terra is technically in the Seamaster range, and within the Aqua Terra line, there are many more variations. Last year, the Aqua Terra Shades versions hit the stores after a long delay from when it was initially announced. The dial colors came out in blue, green, orange, and red, and I think this terracotta red is a stunning color and looks the best out of all of them. I was able to get the very first one that arrived at my authorized dealer, and the red dial is still not that readily available. It's not available to order online and not routinely placed out in the display cases. In terms of Omega, the Seamaster Diver and the Speedmaster Professional often take up all of the attention, but the Aqua Terra is still a gem of a watch, and that's why I call it an under-recognized Omega. First of all, the 38mm case size hits the sweet spot, exactly in between 36 and 40, slightly larger than a Datejust, so you have more substance on the wrist, but not as overpowering as the Submariner. The case thickness is just medium, not thick or thin. Comparing the size to the Explorer, which is just under 36mm, the Aqua Terra is noticeably larger, but they both have 19mm lug width and a similar lug-to-lug length. And comparing to the Submariner, which is just over 40mm, the size actually looks fairly similar, but that's an illusion because of the bezel of the Submariner and the smaller dial diameter of the Submariner. The case is high polish on the top and on the sides and on the smooth bezel. Overall, a well-designed case. The open case back is a nice little positive that Omega provides, not something that Rolex does. It's very nicely finished on the inside, but not up to the level of Patek Philippe. The movement itself is superb. The Omega Coaxial Master Chronometer, caliber 8800. It's META certified and comes with a 5-year warranty and a 55-hour power reserve. Water resistance of 150 meters. This watch can go in the water. It's designed for the land and the sea. The 3-link solid bracelet is very decent. It looks very similar to the President bracelet. The center links are highly polished and the side links are slightly brushed. At first, I wasn't a big fan of the butterfly clasp, and I preferred a fold-over clasp, but wearing it this week, I'm not really bothered by that anymore. It is a 2-step process to open and close the clasp, but once it's closed, it does have a fairly seamless design. One minor complaint is that there's no micro adjustment and the links are very difficult to remove. There are screw-on caps on each side and they're extremely tiny and difficult to put back on. It took me 40 minutes just to remove a couple links at home, so I highly advise you to let the authorized dealer do this for you. But once you remove the right amount of links, the fit is comfortable. And here, compared with the President bracelet, the 3-link design of the bracelet actually does look pretty similar. But the big difference comes when you look at the clasp. The hidden crown clasp of the Rolex Date 8 is vastly superior. It just feels more sturdy, and the fold over clasp is more convenient to use. And when it is closed, the outside looks very seamless, except for that small Rolex crown. But the star of the show is the dial in that amazing red color. The technique of fusing that red color onto the brass dial is very difficult to achieve, and that's partly why this watch is in lower supply. The dial is sunbrushed from the center, giving you the different shades of red. Sometimes a bright red, maybe even orangish red in the sunlight, and then sometimes a dark maroon red color in lower light situations. Sometimes the sunburst effect is very vivid, and sometimes there's more of a matte or flat red, so it really is a very dynamic dial. The date window is at 6 o'clock, so it retains symmetry. The hour markers are rhodium plated and filled with superluminova. Rhodium is extremely corrosion resistant, and it's even more expensive and difficult to work with than white gold. And something else distinctive about this dial is that if you look at the minute hand, it's very long and it has a very large arrowhead at the end. So I think this red dial color is the very best feature of this watch. It's very vivid and bright and it stands out. And sometimes I just want to wear that extra pop of color. I think this color looks amazing in person, and I have nothing else like this in my collection. And it's all packaged up in a very nice 38mm case size, a decent bracelet, and a superb movement, which I think is a good value for the money. The dial is extremely legible to tell the time because of the highly polished hour markers and hands. They did a good job with the date window, adding in that frame, and I like that rectangular design instead of the round design of the date window. I like to wear this when I want something slightly larger than my Datejust, but not so large as a Rolex Steel Sports watch. It really does feel like this watch is somewhere in between a sports watch and a dress watch. The watch is highly polished and reflective, maybe too much, and I think they should have introduced some more brushed surfaces to this watch. But its greatest strength, the red dial, may also be its greatest weakness. Because it is so vivid and bright, it does stand out and it can attract attention. And because it is red, that makes it a little bit more difficult to wear. It doesn't always match up with the colors of my outfit, and with some of my clothes, it just doesn't look right. It's just not nearly as versatile as a black dial or a white dial. So I can't say that this is a daily watch or a do-everything watch. Those are the reasons why this watch has not gotten as much wrist time as some of my other watches. But I still love that red dial color and the overall package enough that I want to keep this in the collection. But let me know in the comments, is it worth it to keep this watch just to wear it for a few weeks out of the year, or should I give it up? And what is your favorite Aqua Terra variation?